Okay, welcome to Cable Magic, and we're going to review shadow foam, legitimate, authentic shadow foam versus a cheap alternative competitor. So, shadow foam is a great way to pimp out your toolbox. When you use a tool, you can see that it leaves a shape of what tool has been used. It's great to keep your van tidy or your toolbox tidy. You know exactly what's missing just by looking at the shape of your tools. So we're looking at legitimate, authentic shadow foam here, the blue and black, and it is, from memory, a thickness of 30 mil, 3 centimeters. And it is about $50 a piece, so it's very expensive. But I'm going to show you the pros and cons of legitimate, authentic shadow foam and a cheap substitute like so that is $15 a piece for a large square meter. So firstly, with the shadow foam, you get this special cutting tool. It's like a sharp Stanley knife, and it's like a precision tool. And when you shape out your tools, you'd lay them all down and you stencil it out with a marker pen or a felt pen or something, and you got to very carefully cut out all the shapes out. And then you got to, if I was to take a picture, you got to carefully scratch it out as you're peeling it away, and it tears apart. It is much better quality than this cheap stuff. But if you can look very carefully on this cheap stuff, you can see that there's layers here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, unless shadow foam have done this recently, I got my shadow foam about 3 years ago, and there weren't these layers. So these layers easily peel off. When you're cutting it and using a Stanley knife or a cutting knife, it's very easy to take off the top layer and get down to the pink. And then if you want to go deeper, it's easy to take the layer out. Now, the thickness that you might want is if you've got a tool that needs to fit in your drawer because of clearance or something like that, you might go shallow or deep depending on the size of your tool. You can also do other cool things like if I just go down to some of the tools at the bottom here, I've crammed a lot of tools in here, and as you can see, I've got my reciprocating blade, a saw blade here, and it is deeper than the tool that sits on top of it. Or if I pull out my jigsaw, I've also made a space for my jigsaw blades to sit underneath it, just creating extra space. And the shadow foam, to be honest, makes your tools look better. It's got that nice rich color, and you've got more color variety and color options available. However, it is slow to work with. I must have spent around 3 to 5 hours doing this entire toolbox, whereas I whipped out this shelf here in roughly 5 minutes because it's just so much easier to cut, but it's cheap and it pulls apart quicker. So, you know, what is the better product? Well, it's hard to say. If you really are pedantic and you really want that amazing look of color and shadow, I don't know if it shows up on the camera or not, but the legitimate shadow foam is a superior product. It is much harder to work with. I just want to show off a few of my other examples of tools and how you might use this. As you can see, I've pimped out all the drawers with shadow foam. As such, very cool way to keep all your tools neat and tidy. Coming back to what I think, is it worth it? Well, depends whether you want to deck out your entire garage with shadow foam, you know, or are you just going to go the cheap stuff? Because if you go $50 a sheet, you can very easily spend $1,000 on a garage or a work shed on its own. Whereas if you go with the cheap stuff, well, you know, you're probably looking at about a tenth of that cost. And it won't take you a whole month to pimp out all your toolboxes. So there you go. Hope you've learnt something. I particularly don't like the pink, but in this cheap shadow foam replicate, they only had one color. They're trying to get more colors. That was from a particular supplier in Brisbane, Australia. I'm not sure where else you might buy this stuff around the world, but Shadow Foam is the leading competitor for this kind of stuff around the world from the UK. It is expensive, but it is very good quality. Just touching this stuff, it, you know, you can feel the difference. It's going to last longer. I thought, well, if this stuff gets dirty and it gets damaged and it pulls apart, I can very quickly in 5 minutes put new stuff in and pull it out again. You get what you pay for, but I just thought I'd kind of show you what the difference is that I think. I would say Shadow Foam for better quality, but cheap replica Shadow Foam, I call it. No brand Shadow Foam if you want to save on cost and get your toolboxes pimped out a little bit quicker and cheaper. Thanks for watching. Hope that was informative for you. Please subscribe and have a nice day.